What up, everybody? We are back.
Yes, we are.
Yep. No, I blew it
Oh,
this time.
no.
Yay, this way. Lauren
Yeah.
Rosen to my right.
Drew Linsalata to my left. It's
What's
happening.
happening? So we're back again. We did this last month and we said, you know what, we should probably just do a thing monthly just to come up with some stuff. Yeah.
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 So today we're going
Spitball.
to talk about, yeah, for those of you who do not know, if you're watching on whatever my channel happens to be, whatever, this is Lauren Rosen. She is at The Obsessive Mind on Instagram. You should go check her out.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming by as always. It's always fun to talk to you. Today we're going to talk
Always.
about, yeah, our topic today is, but I don't want to do my exposures, but I
Yeah.
want to do my compulsions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which of course we do. Like not want to do exposures or not
Yeah.
and want to do compulsions. However, there's another side to things that in recovery we've got to explore, right?
All right, bring it. What do you got?
Well, I think that stopping at I don't want to do my exposures or I want to do my compulsions negates about half of an individual. It's true. And there's also the part of you that does want to do your exposures and the part of you that doesn't want to do compulsions that shows up for therapy or support groups or even on Instagram or whatever, just trying to get support and to recover. And so people are so identified with this part of them that doesn't want to do exposures, that does want to do compulsions. And I think sometimes people who advocate for recovery can be sort of in this almost uh, adversarial position of like advocating for recovery. And then it takes away from the person's actual desire to want to change. So I think it's important that we recognize that it's both, right? Like it's
Yeah.
I want to do it and I want to do the compulsion and I also don't want to do the compulsion.
Mhm.
Uh, and it's totally normal that I have the urge and that I want to and at the same time I don't have to and it probably would be better served by not doing it.
I like it. That's trying to serve two masters thing. Like I
Mm.
want to get better, but I also want to be comfortable right now. So
Yes.
tough call. You can't really serve both of those masters all the time.
No, unfortunately not.
I like the statement that you just made, like people who advocate for recovery. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding, like you or I, people like you or I, uh,
Mhm.
we have to be careful about pressing people into a corner where they feel like, no, you have to do it this way. Like we're not validating that other half of them that says, but I'm afraid, but I don't want to do this.
Right.
That point.
That's absolutely it, and in addition to that, it's even by saying you should do your exposure work
Mhm.
or, uh, sort of being too much of a cheerleader, at some stages, it can take away the agency from the other person. It's sort of putting, like, creating this back and forth
Yeah.
where one person is advocating and the other person is sort of like pushing back and saying, "Well, but I don't want to." Like I see this, if I can clarify a little bit, when people are out on their own throughout the week, sometimes they'll say, "Oh, I think Lauren would want me to do this." I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! I want you to do whatever you want to do."
Yeah.
And what whether or not you do compulsions, it's not a moral question. So, you don't it's not like you shouldn't do compulsions. You'd probably be better served by not doing compulsions
Right.
given where they lead you, but it's not about me, it's about you. What do you want? Like, don't externalize the part of you that wants to change and put it on me. As much as, of course, I want people to get better.
Right.
Um,
Well,
it
they would, assuming that they're engaging because they want to. So we get that, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But does
And
that make sense that
it
if
no,
we
it actually makes really good sense. I see 2 things there. Number 1 is you don't back a wounded animal into a corner, which I
Yes.
can completely get that. In my worst days,
Mm.
I knew what I had to do, but somebody who told me to do it and do it, that would not go well at all. Like, I
No.
get it. There's anger there, there's discomfort, there's fear, there's anger, and then that becomes a resistance, like, "No, no, stop telling me to do that." And then the other thing is interesting because I actually made a post about this the other day. So it's so fascinating that you brought that up. I wasn't
Mm.
expecting to talk about this. And basically what I said was, you should expect your support your support system, if you will, including, I guess, your therapist or your counselor counts, your online groups, whoever the people you follow on Instagram, to
Mm,
cheer for you and tell you that you can recover.
mm,
Do not expect us to tell you that you should, because
yeah,
everybody is free to make whatever choice they want all the time, and that choice should be expected. So
yeah,
I should be respected. I'm sorry, not expected. But and I think that speaks to that a little bit. Like I'm not going to tell you to do these things. I'm just going to tell you that you can. And
yes,
then from there, and from one day to the next, it might change. One day you might be really gung ho to do your exposures or not do your compulsions. And the next day it flips and you just feel incapable. I get that.
yes, yeah. But
Yeah.
I love that having the support system say that you can and recognize your capacity without ever saying what you should be doing or telling you what to do
I believe in
is
my heart that that is an individual. Everybody has honestly, I feel like everybody has a right to not recover if they choose that. That's okay. As long as you know the
absolutely.
implications, I would stand behind somebody who chooses that. It's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 But to your point, knowing the implications, because I think a lot of people, want to have both.
Yeah.
And I understand, I've been there too.
It's really tough. Yes, I get that. And it speaks a little bit to, oops, sorry, I'm getting notifications. It
I
speaks a
like it.
little bit to, there are times when on my platform, my community, where I have found myself in a position where somebody is asking, they're arguing that they don't want to do the, or they shouldn't, or they can't do these things. And I have to
Yeah.
step back sometimes and say, wait a minute here. I'm not here to argue to convince you to recover. I will cheer for you if you decide you want to do that. So do you
Yeah.
find, and especially in a therapeutic relationship with a client, do you ever find yourself in that position? Or wait a minute, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I forgot.
Yes. Well, yeah, because we do want people to get better. I think, especially if you have personal lived experience, whether you're a therapist or not, that uh, they're getting into that position of advocating for change and then realizing, oh, whoa, this needs to be yours.
Yeah.
And if you're not taking the reins here, the change won't be sustainable because you're not doing it for the right reasons, I
Yeah.
suppose. Uh,
That leads us down to that whole, like, everybody needs it's so funny because I always say everybody needs sometimes to lick their wounds sometimes, like,
mm,
that's okay.
yeah, yeah,
Um, I wrote about that too, where like, hey, look, when you're having a bad day, it's okay to have a bad day. Put some time aside where you can hate the world and be angry and resentful and disappointed and sad and cry and curse and hit a pillow, whatever. That's okay to do that. And on those days, you may be more in that mindset where you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna do these compulsions today because I just need to today.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
See me again tomorrow then. It wasn't Tomorrow's a new day. You never know, right?
absolutely. But
Yeah.
that I think I really love what we're talking about of handing it off as like this is not about you being good or bad. It's not about the right or the wrong thing to do. It's there. Everything has everything has causes and conditions, right? And so the if you take an action, there will be some sort of a secondary effect. If you want that secondary effect, then do that. If you don't, then probably do something else.
Yeah. Which is very fair.
And
Yeah.
yeah, but if I think especially with the sort of overzealous advocating, so- and I've certainly
Yeah.
done plenty of that myself in my day,
Yeah.
that unfortunately, it's sort of like telling somebody to go put on a coat when it's cold outside, right? The initial response is, "I don't wanna put on a coat. Don't tell me what to do," right? Even if it's with the best of intentions and having that sense of autonomy in it and independence and like, "No, I'm doing this because I don't wanna be under the sway of my anxiety at this point." Um, that that's I don't know. That's the only way I think ultimately.
No, it's good. Good thing you weren't my mother because I never wanted to put on my coat. Don't tell me to put on the coat. It's so funny that you put that. I know it's freezing it. I would intentionally be like freezing just to,
Yeah.
no, I'm not putting on the coat.
Yeah.
So I
Forget
get
you.
that.
I
And
don't wanna
that's,
put on the stupid coat.
yeah, that could be a
Uh,
personality trait thing too. So for some people, I don't do well being told what to do. I'll freely admit that, call it a flaw, if you will. So somebody who's overzealously advocating for me to do the right thing could backfire a little bit. Um,
but what about on the other side? Because that's interesting too. I don't disagree. I think some people are more inclined to push back and not want to be told what to do, but then there
I'm
are
not saying
people
it's good that I do that, but I know that I
well,
do. Yeah.
Which I totally, and I get it. I do. I
Yeah.
think to some extent we all do it, and I don't think it's an unhealthy thing. I think it's just a reflection of a desire to be autonomous.
Right.
But on the other side of things, there are people who want to be told what to do, right? They want to be led through it piece by piece, and that's equally a problem because if you're doing your exposures because it's right or you should, I don't know. I think oftentimes it's done. It can be done with the intent of trying to eradicate the disorder, like, and not with the intent of like I'm doing this because I want something different. Like I want a different experience.
Yeah. This is such a good conversation. It's very nuanced, isn't it? Like,
It is. I feel like I feel my wheels turning as
yeah,
I'm talking. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, it really is. And I think this speaks a little bit to, you're right. Some people just need the encouragement a little more. Well, I'll call it encouragement. They
yeah,
need a little more, whatever, hand holding, coaching, whatever you want to call it. This is where the limitations of social media to me come into play. And you have to
mhm,
realize, like, I don't know you. If you're watching this video, I don't know you. There's like 10 of you maybe that I really know that might be watching this. But
yeah,
otherwise, I don't know you. So I don't know if you're somebody who just maybe lacks some confidence and needs more cajoling or cheerleading, or if you're somebody who's a little bit more, don't tell me what to do. We have no idea.
right,
Yeah. And this is where it becomes really important to understand the difference between accessing psychoeducation and encouragement on Instagram or YouTube and actually having a therapeutic relationship with a clinician. Very
right.
different.
It is because of that nuance, and yeah, and knowing what the person needs, and the thing is, it's all down to the person ultimately. Even if you are in a therapeutic relationship, the hope is that you are going to gain awareness about, "Oh, I need more encouragement today," or um, I need some tough love," and even to ask for it when you can. I think, ultimately, you're going to have the best awareness of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's talk for a second about one thing that I found interesting too is, and I have to go back to this statement in my community often. I have to literally say, like in my Facebook group, you by definition, you cannot disappoint me or this group.
yeah.
Because some people will be like, oh, I feel like I let you down. Well, you can't let me down. I don't know you, and I have no, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Skin in the game?
Yes, that's exactly right. Thank you. I really don't have any. I want to encourage you, and I want to see you get better. I want you to get what you want, but
Yeah.
you cannot disappoint me, or I know you can't disappoint Lauren by maybe doing your compulsions that day, even though she said on Instagram you shouldn't.
Right, and that's I think what I was trying to get at maybe somewhat clumsily with the the question of somebody doing like doing exposure work or not doing compulsions because they're being told to and they're trying to do it right. That you're now in this paradigm where you're still trying to get the gold star, or which I think it ultimately can backfire because when you don't do it, now it's, "Oh, they're upset with me," or "I'm bad,"
Yeah,
as opposed to just, "Oh, no, you're doing your thing, and this happened, and it's okay."
yeah,
And and nobody's upset with you, nobody's gonna think poorly of you. It's down to whether or not it's serving you, and that's again, at that point, picking it up and saying, "Okay, well, it's not serving me." That's where the vivacity of recovery comes from.
mm, the vivacity of recovery. That's our next book. People look for it. Uh, Good title. Just saying.
I like it.
Yeah, that's really good. Looking for the gold star, I think is a lot of people do fall into that trap. Like I
Yeah,
need validation or at least want confirmation that I'm always doing it right. But I was
yeah,
trying to tell people like, hey, look, maybe today wasn't the best day. Maybe you fell back into some old habits. We all do it. It happens to everybody. What can
sure
you learn
does.
from today? And then what can you take into tomorrow? What lesson from today can you take? Every day counts, even when it's not maybe the best, air quotes, best day.
Right. In
There's
fact,
always
we
lessons.
learn so much from those days that are probably not what we would consider to be the best days, that sometimes those are the most important days.
Yeah, and they're sometimes the most distasteful lessons. I know for me, one of the lessons I learned from my I don't want to do it days was that I was using. I was somebody posted about this morning too, which was really good. And it's so funny.
Mm.
You ever open Instagram and see your own words? And it's like,
Oh,
I think I
yeah,
wrote that. So
yeah.
it was really a little weird at 6 a.m. But I found that I was using rest as a reward, and like,
Mm,
oh well, I did this really hard thing, so I can, I'll just chill out for
mm,
4 days.
yeah.
And so those bad days and those days where I was resistant taught me that, but that was a really distasteful lesson for me to have to learn about me.
Mm,
So
yeah.
a real negative feedback loop there. Like I'm having a bad day, and that's showing me lessons that I wish I didn't want to have to learn. So
Right. Yeah. Oh, I don't yeah.
yeah,
And, I think, just sort of spinning off of the lesson itself, it's interesting because the reward is intrinsic to the doing of the hard things.
yeah, yeah,
And I don't think everyone realizes that coming into this process because, you know, it's like, no, the end game is what we're looking for. And I think actually that the amount of self-esteem, worth, right? The sense of efficacy
yeah,
that you get from doing the hard things, that it's so empowering. And I think that that is in and of itself a reward that
yeah.
people oftentimes overlook.
I would agree. And I would think that every exposure, every experience stands on its own to a certain extent too. There's a lesson and they all serve a purpose, whether they're
Mhm.
good, bad, otherwise you were perfect, you weren't, you made mistakes, whatever. There's every one of them stands on its own as its own experience that matters. They're additive, yes, but if you're only going to look down the road and only keep your eyes on the prize, you're going to miss some of that. And I think that adds to resistance too. This individual thing felt crappy I don't want to do it. But no, but it
Right.
had value. Doing it had the value. The value was in the
Yes.
doing it. Yeah.
The value is in the doing it, the value is in the experience that you had recognizing that you could do it.
Yeah.
The the value is also in one of the things that I know from my own recovery, and I've seen it so often in the people that I work with, is recognizing that there's actually a lot of peace in dropping, in particular, mental compulsions.
Mm.
That there's actually like in the moment peace in saying, I am going to accept uncertainty. It's very uncomfortable still. So it's both. There is also relief of, I don't have to figure that out anymore. I don't have to do it. I'm free of it in this moment. Now it may in a couple other moments come back and I may be, back in the swing of things, but so there is a lot that I think comes from all of those experiences, the good days, the bad days, and each of the momentary stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah. It's
Um,
good stuff. Uh,
yeah.
This is a great conversation. We could do this for the next hour, I'm sure, but
I believe we probably could.
probably good. Yeah. Try and wrap it up within about 20 minutes or so. So this was what's the takeaway here?
Hmm.
Let's wrap this up. I don't want to do my exposures, but I want to do my compulsions today. What would you tell somebody?
I think I would tell them to consider why they don't want to do their compulsions or why they do want to do their exposures, to both hold the fact that they do want to compulse or they don't want to do exposures, and acknowledge that and even validate that of course you don't want to do them today, and
Yeah.
also we're going to do them anyway because I want this. I want a sense of empowerment. I want a sense of agency around my life. I want momentary peace in not being in the rat race of trying to figure all of this out. And I also want long term to be in a place where my thoughts don't have such a hold on me and my feelings don't get to dictate what I do. So that's, I don't know. What about you? What
Damn
what
good
would you
advice.
say?
That's a good question. I think I would tell people that it isn't always either or. That's
Mhm.
crazy. Now, look, this might be dangerous ground to go on because I'm not trying to. I'm the last person to give people an out, but there are days when you feel like it depends on why you don't want to do it. If you're just exhausted that day because this is hard work and like I just need a break, I get that. And taking a break because you're just done, you're out of gas from all this is perfectly valid. But it doesn't have to be black or white. Maybe you could do on exposure standpoint. I always tell people, what if you did something really tiny? Instead of just laying in bed all day, go and sit in your garden for 10 minutes and then go to bed if you want to. At
Yeah.
least you did something so you don't look back and say, well, the day was a total loss. Um,
Yeah.
so it's not always black or white. It doesn't have to be either or.
It's so true. And I
Yeah.
love your
Well,
point about the, just I know we're wrapping up, but
right.
the element of it depends on where you're at. There's no one size fits all answer to this, and it's not like you should always or that you would even be best served to always do your exposures, and there are days when the best answer for you is gonna be to take it easy.
Yeah,
And but that's it, but it's such a moving target.
it is.
There's just no yeah.
It is. Awesome. We're going to do this again next month. I don't know what we're going to talk about next month, but we'll do it.
Me either. I'm looking forward to it though.
Always great. Well, thank you so much, Lauren. This is always so much fun talking to you. For those of you
Well,
who do not following Lauren, I'll put it back on the screen. So Lauren is
oh,
at the Obsessive Mind on Instagram. If you're watching on one of my channels, I'll put me up on the screen.
I think you should. And for those who are directed here from my channels, Drew is amazing. You should check him out on Instagram, and you should also check out his books because he's awesome in so many respects. And then he's got the podcast too. Man,
Wow. I'll hire you
yeah,
as my publicist. Thank you, Lauren.
yep.
That's very kind. All right, guys. Thanks for coming by. We will see you the next time we do this.
Bye.
Later. Got to hit the